Hey guys, Luna here, and welcome back to our life. Last we left off, we were doing the planning for our birthday party, and I split this into a two-parter because I had a feeling that this was going to take a much longer time. You jerk awake with a start. There was a loud knocking coming from your bedroom door.
How are you?
Kiddo, you awake? You're in your bedroom. You were pretty sure about that anyways. 80% positive at least. You were too drowsy to come with any more creative place to be. But besides the basic and likely fact of existing in your bedroom, we found that you hadn't the faintest idea of what's going on. There had been a voice, right? You remember a voice. Terry phoned the house earlier, but you missed her. There is again, your mom's voice. As you slowly blink awake, the realization came to you in stages. You recall the events of yesterday. The live sensations swarmed in your memory, a frantic afternoon planning, shopping, and of sugar. At some point you had ended up in your bed asleep, but you didn't recall setting an alarm. Terry had said she would come by to pick you up at 7 this morning, so she was your wake-up call for the day. As you threw the covers off, getting out of bed as noisily as you could manage. Alright, I'm up. Standing in the middle of the room, your mind blanked, and then you scrunched up your face really tight. You allowed your brain to form a coherent thought. Miranda's birthday. It was Miranda's birthday. You hastily changed into a fresh set of clothes, tried to tame your bedhead as best as you could, and then raced downstairs. You bade your moms a quick farewell.
Have fun.
Have fun, sweetie. And say happy birthday to Miranda from us, okay? You had barely enough time to yell a quick thank you over your shoulders before you were out the front door. When you stepped outside, Cove was there waiting for you on the sidewalk. The number of times you had left the house to find him there, it sometimes made you wonder if he lived on your sidewalk. He hadn't the faintest trace of sleepiness on him, but then Cove rarely did. He was a tiny ray of sunshine at any time of the day, but mornings were when he shone the brightest. You exchanged your usual greetings, but rather than stop to chat, you kept walking by as he explained to him, the cakes were at Baxter's place and you need to go pick them up.
Oh,
alright. Cove didn't tag along, content to leave you to your own devices. That made sense. He wasn't at the point of seeking out Baxter's company willingly, and wasn't likely to start right now. When you knock at Baxter's door, it popped right open like your meager taps had knocked off its hinges. Hi, Baxter.
nice to see you.
Good morning. I've been expecting you. You had gotten that impression. He moved aside in the hallway to let you pass, and you strode briskly into the condo. He followed you into the kitchen where you found the cakes in their containers, stacked on the countertop. The big day is finally here. Wait, this is better. The day is finally here. Excuse me. His composure hadn't been broken with an enormous yawn, the size of it hadn't seen since the coffee shop. Hey, I'm just wondering, what time did you get to bed last night?
Honestly.
Truthfully, I didn't make it to bed. You weren't surprised by now. Baxter is just like that, but you still felt a pang of guilt. You're putting him through the ringer with this party. It's not an issue. I felt rather rough after finishing cleaning yesterday, and I took the liberty of having a nice long shower. I also preferred to avoid going to bed with damp hair. But no sooner I had gotten it dry than I realized I wouldn't be able to get a substantial amount of sleep before I need to be up again anyway, so I just stayed awake instead. Even so, maybe try and take a nap sometime today. I'll see what I can do.
Now.
Enough about me. And I'm gonna jokingly do yawns throughout some of his speech this morning. Let's take these delicacies outside and wait for Terry. She texted me earlier to let me know she was on her way. I imagine you received a similar message. Terry had indeed sent you a message, although it was too early in the day to be hit with something with so many exclamation points. How much sleep had you gotten? He had picked up 2 of the waiting boxes, leaving you to carry the remainder. You didn't linger, heading straight for the front entrance. Baxter came out behind you with the key. He had trouble with the logistics, eventually resorting to balancing the containers in one hand like a serving tray before closing and locking the door with the other. Back in the street, Cove was still loitering on the street down by the front gate, blissfully unaware of what secret party planning committee had gone through for this. Baxter called him over to him, full of character, good cheer. "Good morning, neighbor." "Hey." Cove's response was quiet, more distracted than aloof. He was peering with interest at the boxes he were carrying. He had hopes about their contents. The plastic was all kind of foggy and translucent, so it wasn't quite possible to tell what was inside. But Cove intuited that whatever it was edible. The boy was like a shark sometimes.
See?
"My friend, you are looking at 35 of the finest freshly baked chocolate cupcakes with cream cheese frosting." Cove's face visibly lit up at the word cake, as if he'd been offered one already. "That's great. I believe Terry's also bringing a proper birthday cake from home as well." Cove's smile grew even wider. He hoped Baxter was taking notes. "The way to a man's heart is through his stomach" was a phrase he suspected had been originally written about Cove. The promenade of streets was far away the most exciting aspect of any party, at least to him. Your childhood companion was so silly, he thought. He provided you with the most of a lifetime's worth of entertainment for free. In fact, someone had tried to pay you to have it. Those won't be the only sweets either. There's going to be a chocolate fountain, too. Cove's mouth formed a perfectly round O, and you thought you could see the sparkles in his eyes, or maybe they were sprinkles.
Yeah?
"What are you guys going to be bringing to tip them in? Strawberries, marshmallows, banana slices, pretzels?" While Cove was busy listing every single item he thought might reasonably taste good drenched in liquefied chocolate, it struck you that you didn't know what the answer to that question was. Was Terry handling that? Were you supposed to have thought of something? You exchanged a nervous glance with Baxter, who shifted uncomfortably from one foot to another. Very not good. Baxter didn't have a clue either, which could only mean that you never even discussed that matter with Terry yesterday. It was the cupcake quantity quandary all over again. Shoulders thumped. He had honestly never anticipated organizing a party would involve coordinating so many different things. Your mind simply couldn't keep track of it all. Seeing your distress, Baxter slipped into his usual mode of cool cumberness. Let's think about this. Terry took the fountain home with her, so we can sensibly assume that she had taken charge of it, and by extension the offerings to tip in the fountain. However, time isn't on our side, and luck has not been either. In order to be 100% absolutely crystal clear about the matter, we should text her and ask. Although, if she's currently driving... She trailed off, a hint of anxiety managing to mar even his carefully schooled demeanor. You all exchanged a new set of nervous glances, Cove joining in at this time. This problem was one even he could worry about. "We should grab stuff. Our houses are right here, and you know what Terry's like. If she knew what she was going to do, she would have said so already." Baxter inclined his head in agreement, bending down to place the box of the cake on the ground near the condo's front entrance. Then he straightened, pulling himself up to his full height.
Fine.
"We are going to our homes and retrieve suitable samplers. Terry will arrive and take us to the venue, and there will be no further problems." His voice resonated with a forceful air of finality. This was perhaps the closest you've seen Baxter to losing his temper. Then he added, and as an afterthought, "Unless, of course, we are hit by a car on the way there, but quite frankly, I will be much too tired to be cared about dying by then. Let's settle this." Of course. He was right. It had to be done. You simply put down your box of cupcakes next to Baxter's. Then the three of you made a run for it, each going to your separate ways. You dash over to the road and hop inside your house, heading directly for the kitchen. You open a cabinet at random, racking your brain for anything to bring. What would go in the chocolate fountain? You wish you paid more attention to what Cove had been saying earlier. You thought you did remember to swipe a bunch of ripe bananas off the counter. Then you hit the jackpot on the highest shelf of your family's cupboard. Back outside, the three of you examined the spoils of your impromptu raiding party. There were several types of assorted fruits, marshmallows, cookies, pretzels, and a box of granola bars. The last item, one of Cove's, had Baxter chuckling under his breath.
Not bad.
I have to say, I never heard of granola bars being dipped in fountain before, chocolate or otherwise.
Well,
Is It's either that or protein bars. No, this is good. It'll be a novel edition, not to mention for people to hold on without a utensil. Besides, I hardly contributed at all. He gestured a little timidly at the bag of salted pretzels, his sole addition to the haul. It was all he'd have to bring. You'd save the day by finding your mom's and Lizzie's special treats, 3 types of cookies and big marshmallows. They'd have to sacrifice for this event as everyone else did. Right. I brought some bags along to put everything in. I can carry those while you two handle the cakes. You and Baxter both praised Cove's quick thinking and gratefully dumped everything into the bags he held, then gathered up with the boxes of cupcakes. You mingled about, making idle conversation about the upcoming party and trading some anecdotes with Cove about the baking process from the night before. He was especially mournful to hear about the accident that had claimed the 36th cupcake. But soon there is a telltale sign of a vehicle approaching. At speed. The Brooks van pulling up alongside you, and then the horn honked loudly in greeting. Terry had arrived. You could see the enormous grin on her face, though through the window shield, she enthusiastically struck out her arm at the driver's windows and waved. Cove beamed and waved back.
Right.
I'll get the door. He pulled open the sliding side door and, jumping inside, striking up conversation with Terry immediately. You clambered in after him. The car was normally spacious, but since you filled it up with party equipment yesterday, it got cramped. You made room for the addition of food wherever you could.
Hey, buddies.
You ready to make like an RPG and party up? Not really. Were you ready to have a chocolate fountain? What did you bring to dip in it? Being subjected to this accusation right out of the gate knocked Terry completely off her stride. Her expression was completely baffled. Cove, how did you know about the chocolate fountain? I must have forgot we even had a chocolate fountain. And then Terry clapped a hand in front of her forehead, her eyes wide. Ah! Oh shoot, I forgot to bring stuff for the chocolate fountain. Terry started panicking, but Baxter promptly headed off at that pass with a casual rap of his knuckles against the external wall of the van. He leaned in through the side door, having stopped short of climbing inside after you and Cove. No need to worry about it, Terry. We thought that it might have happened, so we took the liberty of bringing along some offerings of our own. You guys got the goods?
Of course.
Yeah, right here. Cove held up one of the bags of extra supplies he was still clutching, jiggling it enticingly. Terry placed a hand heavily onto her heart. Crap, you are my saviors, but don't scare me like that. I thought this party was a buzz. And do you know how many times I thought that in the last 12 hours? You're so lucky you're not doing it by yourself, Terry. Where would you be without us? Where would your fountain be without us? Oh yeah, you got that right. Remind me to treat you to something once this is all over. Deal.
What?
Hold on, you barely did anything yet, Cole.
So,
he's present now, and it's all thanks to him we realize what was amiss. Cove speaks for us all, I think. You have yourself a deal, Terry. Fine. Slowly but surely, you felt some of the stress from the last several hours fade away in the company of your friends. Maybe this whole thing would work out alright in the end. Baxter gently tapped the side of the vehicle again to grab everyone's attention.
does that sound alright?
With that safely out of the way, I'll parch with you 3 here. I'm gonna drive along behind in my own car, if that's alright. Okay, sure. That's cool with me, man. Terry really didn't get what Baxter was doing, but she wasn't about to start raising objections. A brief glance at the two of you confirmed that neither you nor Cove had a clue between you either. Splendid. I'll see you very soon. He punctuated his farewell by shutting the van door, leaving you and Cove to buckle yourselves in. Terry watched in the rearview mirror as Baxter approached his vehicle and got inside. Once he fastened his seatbelt and flashed her a quick thumbs up, she put the van in drive and pulled out. Baxter followed suit, and the 4 of you were off. You sat with a box of cupcakes stacked precariously on your lap, and your arms wrapped around the side to prevent the tower from toppling. You were hyper aware of every last dip and bump in the familiar roads like you've never been before. As you went along, Terry laid out the plan when you arrived.
All right.
So the idea is to make sure we get all the snacks and drinks and that stuff ready first, in case we're missing anything, or anything else. Then we basically decorate as fast as physically possible before noon, basically. That's when people should start showing up. You gotta order some sandwich platters and salad bowls and stuff on delivery. They should be there for people to eat along with cake, sort of like a late lunch.
Oh,
And by we, I mean Randy's mom and dad. We're off the hook for that part. She threw her head back and whooped with glee, a sound that was pure and clear as the morning. You felt her infectious enthusiasm. She continued. Anyways, Randy doesn't want to have her party drag on forever. We'll need time to clean up before the place closes, so we're gonna wrap things up with the event before dinner. When the guests are gone, we'll have until 10 before you get kicked out of the room. Now, I won't sugarcoat it or even chocolate coat it, team. It's going to be another long day for all of us. Just don't forget, Randy's gonna be amazed and it'll be worth the effort, I just know it. Close your eyes, leaning back against the seat of the van. Terry was speaking the truth, of course, about all of it. It was going to be another grueling day. But you had your friends, and you were grateful to be huddling in the back of your van, surrounded by mountains of bags and 35 cupcakes in your lap. To be alive, to be there. You might have been in some danger of falling asleep again, sitting down for too long, but before you nodded off, Terry was parking the van in the lot outside of a large building. It looked like it was excuse me. It looked like it would host generic offices rather than parties. You couldn't judge a book by its cover, apparently. We're here, everybody out. On command, you and Cove dutifully climbed out of the van. Baxter's pulling up in his car, having to maintain his dick close to Terry the whole way. It's interesting everyone's different skin tones too, I just realized. When your group had reassembled, there was a brief re-exchange of greetings. Terry was in the mood to dawdle and clap her hands together. Time to get moving, people. We got a whole nother party truck to unload. Aye, aye, Captain. As you command, sir.
Sure.
You and Terry carried your respective desserts while Cove and Baxter worked together to take a photo table from the back of the van. As Terry led the way to the rented room, and you peek your head around the cupcake container and got your first look at the party scene. Honestly, that looks pretty cool. It looks very nice. It was seriously perfect for this, and exactly as Terry had originally described. Shiny, pretty, and pink. On Terry's directions, the boys put down the table in what would eventually be the refreshment section of the party. They extended the legs and flipped it upright. Once it was stable on its feet, Baxter was quick to cover the surface with one of the golden tablecloths. It was ready to go. Ever so carefully, you set your plastic chest of bejeweled consumables down. When the opaque legs came off, they revealed the frosted tops were still intact. On close inspection, you could tell a few cupcakes on the left side of the container were slightly smushed, but the glitter coating hadn't rubbed off, so no one else would notice the imperfection. Terrifo's gleefully explanation came over your shoulder. She caught sight of you and your Baxter's handiwork.
very nifty.
That's what I'm talking about. The white cake with a bit of rainbow confetti in your hands was one of the elements that was out of place with the theme. It was entirely unglamorous, a relic of more of like child birthdays. But that's why your Sir Miranda would adore it. She hadn't outgrown her own favorites. Terry had put it down next to the cupcakes and gave you a big thumbs up. You had everything you needed, and the biggest potential disasters had been avoided. You could focus on the rest of the preparation work with confidence. The whole secret party planning committee went for another run of supply gathering. Another table and piles of plastic bags were brought in from the venue. But try and say secret party planning committee 10 times fast, that'll be fun. On the third round, everything made it inside. You carried a red cooler filled with chilled, sparkling cider. Terry hid that under the cover table until later. Then all four of you sat around around the lit-up dance floor, taking stuff out of bags and sorting it into piles. Things for food on one half of the room, decorations on the other. Terry and Cove were both cross-legged. Baxter's kept his legs stretched out. It was kind of like being a kid on Christmas, except instead of opening gifts, it was those things you have to set up, and instead of piles of wrapping paper all around, it was plastic thank you for shopping bags. You still had plenty of fun, especially after all, it was somehow decided that Cove Holden was a perfect hook for feather boas. One after another was tossed over his shoulders into his lap until you looked like a multicolored big bird. Cove accepted the assignment with only a moderate amount of complaining. When the supplies were completely unpacked, Terry surveyed the collection of plates, napkins, and utensils, and plastic cups and the like. She announced that she had handled the snacks and drink arrangements. She delegated Baxter, and Cove to do everything else with the meal. After the salute, Terry left the circle and headed to her station. From under his cloak and feathers, Cove got busy snapping off tags and removing castings. You and Baxter followed his lead. The empty bags were repurposed for holding trash. Peacefully and productively, your little team worked on different tasks, until a groan of frustration edged through the air. It glanced toward the opposite side of the room, Terry shaking the chocolate fountain like she was trying to get a prize fall out of it. Technical difficulties? Baxter stated the obvious. Everyone in the room was aware of Terry's struggles. Not to worry, I have a bit of experience with those beasts. I should be able to offer assistance. He announced his intentions as he got up. There wasn't much left that he had packaging, so you wanted to make sure everything was alright, so you decided to go to see Terry too. Cove was left behind to hold down the fort. He shrugged, and one of the boas slipped down his back. You crashed the floor together, and with a wave, Baxter spoke out of the woman hunched over the table. Hello. Terry sprung up at the sound. Her face was despairing, and she skipped right past the greeting. How do you use this thing? You have the chocolate. It's supposed to go, right? Because it's not going. Baxter pursed his lips and cocked a hip, considering. Basically, yes. You add the melted chocolate into the machine and it turns on. It takes a minute, but it should start to flow. We can troubleshoot. Wait, the melted chocolate? She relinquished her clutch from the fountain. Doesn't it melt when you put it in? A pinch of frustration made Baxter wince. It was only momentary. Then he was smiling placatingly. He had to deliver bad news as pleasantly as possible. To use a chocolate fountain, the chocolate must be melted ahead of time. It won't cook in the machine. Those novelties aren't that sophisticated.
What?
What? I didn't know that. I didn't know that you didn't know that. I should have asked. I should have known. I should have been the one to set up in the first place. Baxter's regrets grew and grew.
Forgive me.
You never used one before, and I have. Both of them dropped their faces with a sigh, though the dramatic of their actions were only entirely on different levels. Baxter's dejection was subtle, restrained. Meanwhile, Terry couldn't have exaggerated her misery more. After Baxter used his own money to get it, and all the trouble he went to finding treats that could be used in it, the fountain ended up as a useless metal tower. There has to be some way to make that thing work. You're absolutely right. Baxter straightened himself up like an actual professional. He viewed the situation from an objective distance and could give perspective to the more emotionally attached Terry. It's not too quite late yet. This is a temporary hitch. I'll take the chocolate somewhere it can be melted and come back. I'll need some way to keep it warm during the trip.
Well...
Perhaps a thermos would work? Would you be able to find a thermos and melt chocolate before the party starts? He chuckled, a hand over his mouth. That is highly unlikely, but all you need to do is enjoy other parts of the event. First, drink, dance, eat one of those lovely cupcakes. Then he flicked his wrist gently away from his face. I'll return at some point during the evening and the fountain will go up then. We can even act as if it was intentional to bring it out later.
Very well.
Ideally, the fountain can accompany the serving of the cake. No one has to know it is a problem factor. Maybe we should give up on the fountain? He flashed a bold smile. I refuse. As flexible as I usually prefer to be, there's some situations where I can be surprisingly stubborn. This is one of them. Terry gripped her chest, overcome by such loyalty and dedication.
Thank you.
B-Man, you are the man. We are getting ready and keeping the party going until you can make it.
Excellent.
Godspeed. You couldn't get why it was so important to have a chocolate fountain, but what could you do?
Take care.
With that, he sauntered off in the room, a bag of unmelted chocolate in his hand and a smile on his face. In the time with shutting the door, Terry smacked her palm against the table definitively. This is going to be the best party I've ever done, no matter what, because it's going to be the only party I'll ever throw. Never again. Next time, someone else is going to have to be in charge. I'll just help. Baxter's kind of is already in charge, you snicker. Nah, if he was, the chocolate fountain would be going already. You laugh even more. She laughed too. Wait, I mean, it's, definitely not too surprising. Come on, Luna, he's not gonna let us down, and we can't stop it either. Let's finish this. Yeah! He spun around only to come face to face with a fluffy Cove. He buried himself further in feather boas and began filling with a balloon he must have inflated. Right, Cove was left to wait alone the entire time. He stared awkwardly as did Terry.
What's wrong?
Is everything alright? We can only hope, Cove. We can only hope. Okay, sure. Cove left it at that, not any more informed or assured. And so the party decoration continued with one less person. More balloons were blown up and placed about. Streamers were strung up, and you even moved a bench from a corner to the center stage. It would act as a makeshift throne for the queen of the day. And finally, all the trash bags were carted out of the vent space and tossed into the dumpster outside. And the three of you returned to stood at the center of the now cleared dance floor and admired your handiwork. Wall to wall, floor to ceiling, the floor gleamed. Honestly, it looks great.
Neat.
Looks good. It does. It actually does. Terry was beaming wider than he ever seen. After a day and a half of almost non-stop preparations, he pulled off something pretty good. It was certainly a homemade arrangement by a group of friends at the last minute, but that was half the charm. Your efforts were easy to see. You sat in a row along the edge of the stage, resting and waiting for the big event. No one talked. Cove tapped his foot, until finally Terry's phone went off. She read the message fervently. She murmured in haste. It's from Jude. The guests are arriving. The guests are arriving. Places, people, places.
All right.
Miranda, her siblings, her parents, aunts, uncles, and cousins, friends, and other people. They're going to be in this room any minute. Be ready. Terry shot from the back of the room to the front in a matter of seconds. She had the music on. She then shrugged a few bags along her arms, those ones that hadn't been used for trash. Cove put on the accessories in them for safekeeping after he was done wearing all the bows himself, of course. With that all hanging over her, Terry stood at the entrance. You and Cove joined her. Noises could be heard on the other side. Cove's hands clenched. Terry clasped onto his shirt like she was about to meet her maker. Then the door slowly began to open. On the other side, a small crowd was huddled together. At the head of it was Miranda herself. Oh my gosh! The dazzling pink party room was reflected in Miranda's big, sparkling eyes. Terry threw her bag-laden arms in the air. None of them fell off, fortunately. Surprise! 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 As spoken, Miranda was overcome with surprise. Terry, Luna, and Cove?
Yeah!
That's right. What do you think of your party this year? I mean, it only just begun. Terry queried her friends eagerly, though the quickness of her question was partially motivated by a discreet anxiety. Miranda blinked, and she knew her families weren't the ones who put in this event. She answered with wholehearted appreciation. I love it, it's amazing! Way nicer than I would have ever thought. And surprised you? You didn't really know what we were up to? You're not just being nice?
You're really nice.
You definitely got me. I didn't think this much would happen. Especially since it's not my 18th birthday or 21st or anything like that. It's only my 19. What? All your birthdays are a big deal. Randy giggled at Terry's assertion. While her eyes were closed, you realized you and Terry shared a look. This party was more important than Miranda realized. Thanks a ton. This is exactly what I want, and I didn't even know it. Cove let out a relieved breath. Terry pumped up a fist vicariously, and the bag she was holding flung around. Miranda's secret birthday bash was a hit. More and more guests gathered and wandered about. They openly admired the room. Terry nodded.
Woo!
It's party time! Let's use the stuff we got! She dumped the contents of each sack on an empty end of the table for everyone to access. A bunch of sunglasses clad out with the boas. On top of the pile was a white one. Terry stashed that in the bag and threw under the tablecloth. He mentally gave her your thanks for the same. That was obviously for Baxter and nobody else. Miranda gave a clap, and it was one delight after another today. Terry sported sunglasses and a purple feather boa. Cove just went for a pair of sunglasses. He had enough wearing those boas already. Or maybe it was ending fun when he was only allowed to take one. Miranda got her own oversized shades, but instead of boa, she was granted the special birthday girl sash and set apart from all the other attendees. You donned a boa and sunglasses. I'm gonna take a blue one. This made you feel like the glamorous diva from that interactive play. Nice, nice. All decked out for the party, Terry directed Miranda's attention to what else was on the tables. She was charmed anew when she saw the radiant rows of fake champagne and outright stunned when her eyes laid down the display of glittery cupcakes.
So great.
So pretty! Did you buy those?
Nope.
Nope, they're handmade. Really? They look like they're from a pro bakery. Thank you. Can I have one now or waiting until it's time for cake? That's your call, birthday girl. She beamed. It was time for the queen to make her decree.
Fun!
Then I declare that we can all eat cupcakes right now. What a gracious hostess.
Sounds good.
Works for me. In unison, the three of them reach for a treat. You took a cupcake. It bit into it right away. The fluffy cake and creamy frosting were delicious, all the sweeter knowing how much work had gone into it. Terry licked the shining frosting first. It was the most intriguing to her. Miranda broke the bottom off the cake and stuck it into the frosting to make a cupcake sandwich before she took a bite. She'd seen it in a video game one time and done it since. Cove crammed half the dessert into his mouth at once. They each had their own unique way of enjoying their confession, but enjoyed it they did. So toasty, nom nom nom. It was too bad Baxter wasn't here to see the results of your shared labor. He would have at least let him know all the trouble wasn't in vain. While you were snacking your curd, you caught sight of Jude in the crowd of guests. He tied up a blue bow around his forehead. The feathers hung down and partially covered his eyes, but his bangs were so long his views were partially obscured, so it didn't make that much of a difference. Miranda's mom, dad, and her two older sisters were going around the room taking pictures and videos. Whenever the cameras ended up pointing in their general direction, Terry and Miranda posed like superstars. Seeing the entire Eckhart family enjoy themselves really made the effort worthwhile. The cupcakes were finished and crumbs were wiped away. Then, hand in hand, Terry and Miranda hit the dance floor. Cove's hand, meanwhile, hovered over the plot of cupcakes. He considered taking another, but closed his fingers into a fist. He resisted the temptation. He jerked his head in the direction of your friends, encouraging him to come with. Cove left the snack table to toe the edge of the lit-up floor. He didn't go an inch past that border, clapping and calling out to Miranda and Terry as much as partying as he was capable of. He joined in with Miranda and Terry. The two of you threw your hands in the air when you rushed over. Miranda screeched and Terry chanted your name when you moved with the music. More and more guests crowded onto the bright lights at the center like moths to a flame. Terry whipped and twirled her boa, and Miranda's sunglasses kept almost flying off her face with a quick-footed movement she was pulling. After a couple songs, Terry dragged Miranda to the front so she could sit on the throne he prepared for her. Time for a cheer. Being in the center of attention normally embarrassed Randy, but today she could ignore those inclinations. Wait there, Randy, Cove, help me get the drinks around. She searched for you and over the sea of people and winked when your eyes met. Gotta make up for not helping at all yesterday. Fine. They got to it, pouring and passing around drinks around the room. Cove offered one from the first batch to you. A grim-faced lady saw what was going on and gently helped out give out the glasses of fake champagne. She knew the truth without being told. You recognized the woman from prior Miranda bashes. It was nice seeing her again, even though you barely said two words to each other in all those years of attending the same birthdays. Thanks to the efforts of those three, most people had a cup ready to go. At the front of the stage, Terry passed the guest of honor, a glass to you. It was time. To the B-Day girl! Happy birthday, Miranda! Woo! Happy birthday! Woo! Dozens of sparkling glasses glimmered from under the shining lights as they were raised in a toast. People drank and clinked glasses with whoever they were rubbing elbows with. You tapped Cove's cup. He smacked your glass with his in tandem, overcome by excitement, premeditating the room. He spilled a little. Oops. Good thing those cups weren't actually glass. I'll sour chug the entire glass. Tipping the stem into the cup to the ceiling, you down the fake champagne. Rush of bubbles scratched your throat, but you didn't stop. I normally don't like anything with carbonation myself, but in this world, I do. I like to party hard, and Cove could not judge, considering how he had a cupcake only 10 minutes ago. With a half-full classic champagne glass, Miranda leapt from off her seat off the stage and landed in the crowd on the dance floor. That got a second round of cheering. Woo! Terry followed right after, and the celebration resumed in full force. We were part of the crowd jumping to the knees. Cove still didn't dance himself, but he still popped his head to the music and tapped his foot. Like the cupcakes, you all relished the moment in your own ways. That afternoon was a party to end all parties, for better or worse. The music inside her flowed without stopping until... Yo, Randy. Miranda's big brother slipped through the few cracks in the wall and dances until he reached the heart of the floor. Food's here. It's cake time.
Woo!
Woo, yay. Miranda gave a final glee of twirling on tiptoes. The birthday sash fluttered. Terry waved Cove over.
Oh, yeah.
Let's eat. The gang reunited back at the refreshment table. Along with Miranda's parents setting out the sandwich platter, for lunch was another figure, a distinctly monochrome figure. He acted entirely at ease behind the table, busy doing final checks over the chocolate fountain. It flipped on slowly, and liquefied chocolate began to trickle out. Baxter did it! Who's that? Miranda's steps paused. She knew she would come face to face with a stranger in the gatherings of people she knew best. That's Baxter, the guy on the street who Terry ran off to go see that one time.
Oh.
Oh, why is he here? Why is he setting up the chocolate fountain? Terry's hands went to her hips and she came out with the whole story. B-Man was a crucial member of the secret party planning group who made this whole thing happen.
Really?
What? Really? Miranda looked back and forth between Baxter and Terry at a loss.
Uh-huh.
Baxter's nice, and I think he can't stand to see an event fail spectacularly or something, but for whatever reason he wanted to help out. He took us to the store to get the supplies, make cupcakes, put up the decorations, and did just about everything for that chocolate fountain. It almost had to be nixed like 3 times. Oh yeah, once in the car, once he... and then also for the price. Baxter kept his professionally polite demeanor the entire conversation, despite the fact he had heard what they were talking about. Feigning innocence, he came around the other side of the table to properly greet the guest of honor.
Hello.
Hello, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you. She barely knew what to say after finding out exactly how much she contributed. But her gaze dropped and she tugged at the self-consciously. A minute before, she was life of the party, embracing the cheesy glitter of gusto, but in front of him she felt childish. Baxter gave a considerate smile. You should be able to manage the fountain now that's running. I hope the rest of the party will be a lovely time. You're leaving already? The question was barely a peep. She had to muster all of her confidence to say that much.
Yes.
Yes, my job is done. I was only here for that. What? It was as if the floor dropped out under you. Baxter had worked so hard as anyone to make this party happen. He pulled an all-nighter for it, and he was just gonna leave? But what were you gonna say against it? Of course he couldn't invite himself to Miranda's surprise birthday party, and she never had a chance to give him a permission to attend. Staring at him, he was unruffled as ever. Bax knew all along he wouldn't get and experience the result of the hard work, and he did it anyways. But, well, she realized the hold on the accessory and looked into Baxter's face directly. It was really thoughtful of you to do all this. You should stay and enjoy the party too. You're a gracious host. His words held sincere appreciation and at the welcome extended, even though enough to get your hopes up. But I can't do that. The rejection was equally amicable. That didn't make it less disappointing. You don't owe me anything. Certainly not a place among your real friends at your birthday party. There's no reason to feel guilty. Now, if you'll excuse me, take care. With a kindly wave that left no room for further arguments, Baxter's breezed past your group. That's it. He was gone. Terry began to frown at some points. She had been willing to do anything to make Miranda's birthday great, but it come at a greater cost than she had thought. Terry piled up job after job on Baxter's shoulders because he was just another part of the group in her mind. She realized it was too late that he wasn't, never had been. Cove could only silently rub the scar on his left arm, and worst of all, Randy's cheer hadn't returned after Baxter's vanishing act was completed. He earnestly wished for her to be happy about it, but it was understandably hard to get into the celebratory spirit after that kind of revelation. It shouldn't have to end like that, and it didn't have to end like that. You wouldn't end like that. If Baxter was going to be at Miranda's birthday, there had to be something else he could be a part of. He mentally grabbed with the problem and cast your eyes about, trying to grasp at any hints of ideas. Then something Terry said earlier came back to you. Terry? All three of the others glanced your way. It was the first crack in the awkward silence, and that was enough for Cove and Miranda to also take an interest. Yeah? Could you do me a favor?
Yeah!
Are you kidding? I owe you my life for making sure this wasn't a disaster. I'll help out with whatever you want.
Me too.
I'll help too if there's something I can do. Thanks. Miranda's birthday is just going to will be for a couple more hours. It'll be done way before the place closes. And Terry said we got the room for the entire day. So tonight, after all the other guests are gone, let's use this vendor for an after party. No, a totally different party. Another party? He tilted his head incredulously. Yeah, another party. Not our birthday, it could be our very own summer soiree. And it can just be for our group. Me, Randy, Terry, Cove, and Baxter. And we can try and set aside some food and drinks for later. Clean up the mess when everyone has left, and then we'll just have slow music at this event. You know how much you wanted to dance, and I'll do with it. You knew how to dance well enough anyways. Yeah. The first step from the idea was the one originally most treacherous about Baxter being there, but she answered with confidence.
Let's do it!
I'll be a member of the secret planning party committee for this surprise. If he can do it for me, I can do it for him. And maybe Terry's right. We could use all more friends. Cove did not look convinced at all, and though he couldn't disagree with the main suggestion. Okay. Alright, Grin pulled at Terry's face, seeing this new plan forming. We should catch him before he's gone. He might not get the message if he escapes now. On it. See you, and thanks. Rush. You rush through the guests coming through on all sides, clamoring for the lunch. Rush. Run. Bursting out of the party room like walking from a dream. Gotta go, hurry, super speed like Sonic. The pink extravaganza was placed by the plain white hallway. The only sounds you were hearing were your own footsteps echoing off the linoleum floors. You've been able to forget the normal world for a while, but it's been there the entire time, going on as usual on the other side of the door. But Baxter wasn't there either. You kept going, kept running, kept pushing through, kept going, run, through the lobby and into the parking lot. His hair might have fit in the black tarmac and white painted lines, but the camouflage couldn't fool you. He was at the end of the row, moments away from getting into his car. Baxter! He turned around at the sound of your voice, pushing yourself further. Rush. Just keep running. Keep pushing. Run. I'm out of breath. Oh no. You shot yourself down right over his face.
I swear.
Luna, did something happen? Okay, please tell me it's not the chocolate fountain again. Your gait had slowed down immensely at the final feat, and you came to a stumbling stop in front of Baxter. He waited patiently for an answer. No, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. I just need to talk to you. Well, that's a relief. Could have fooled me. However, you shouldn't be running out of the building if there's no issues. Go enjoy that damn fountain. Baxter grin was teasing, harmless, though he didn't miss a layer of genuine frustration at this stupid machine after all the trouble it caused. He smoothed his face and shirt out in fluid motions. I'll be fine. Perhaps I'll take a nap. I'm going back. I just have to ask you something first.
I see.
I'm all ears. Okay, so you already know. I know you've already done a lot for this party and us, but if you're not too exhausted, and could come here again tonight, around 7 p.m. Baxter's almost unshakable smiles lost his suspicion. Not good. This was a surprise you were planning. You threw out the first cover that popped in your head before you could speak the obvious question at the tip of his tongue. And I'm torn between, the thing is, I don't want to ride home with Terry, and I just don't know what to do with how you felt. I'm gonna go with, I just don't know what to do with that, what I'll do without you for that long. A razor sharp smirk crossed his face. That gaze cut right through you, even more not good. But he wasn't there when Terry mentioned how long you'd have been. Baxter might have known something was up, but you assured yourself he couldn't guess exactly what. You stood your ground.
Certainly.
Certainly, Luna. I'll be here at 7 on the dot. You gave him a quick kiss. Your lips brushed against his face in a tiny peck. It was only there for a second, but his warmth lingered out even after it. So did the sparkle in his dark eyes. Thanks. See you soon.
It's settled.
Yes, you will. Baxter parted from you yet again, but as soon as you saw him, you felt good about it. This time him leaving didn't mean he's simply gone, it just meant you have time to prepare for his return. You found your way to the party room just as it was time to sing Happy Birthday. Sliding alongside the rest of the group, you act as if you never left. Cove chuckled and quietly welcomed you back. Terry's confetti cake was placed in front of Randy at the head of the table. The 19 candle he picked up from the store yesterday was lit by her dad. When she blew it out, the room was filled with cheers. Woo, happy birthday, yay, woo! Her friends and family ate sandwiches, salads, and cake. The chocolate fountain was a huge hit. Thank goodness. Miranda, Cove, and Terry and yourself each scrolled away at a plate of extra desserts and snacks for the secret party. Soon, guests got a second wind and more dancing commenced. And this time, even Cove stepped off on the little floor. Every single one of you could enjoy yourself at the fullest now, and you did so for the final couple hours of the party. When it got closer to dinner time, guests began to trickle out little by little. Many of them came to hug Miranda and wish her the best once more. That was how Miranda's 19th birthday concluded, and how preparation for the summer soiree began. You informed the team on when Baxter would be arriving and how they couldn't dally. The 4 of you, plus Miranda's parents and siblings, cleaned up the trash and took down the decorations and indicated a birthday was going on. One of the tables and sound system was left in place for the summer soiree. You also recovered the white boa from under the table where Terry hid it earlier. It was still in pristine condition. Chef's kiss. Perfect. At 6:50, Miranda kindly used the last of her birthday girl power to ask her family to get out of there so her friends could have their own party. The Eric clan accepted being kicked out to the curb and graciously made themselves scarce. Jude held up the peace sign as he shut the door behind himself and the rest of the folks taking their leave. At 6:55, he double-checked the dance floor for any debris. It was spotless. At 6:58, you wandered around the room trying to pick out the best place to stand and wait. Terry teasingly wondered aloud if that was what she would look like before Randy arrived. It was. And exactly at 7, the doors cracked open. Excuse me, may I come in? Unsure of what he was walking to, Baxter's paused at the precipice. Enter Baxter Ward. That was all the encouragement needed. Baxter came into the party room. He smiled graciously at the clutter of people silently standing ahead of him. Cove leaned over stiffly like a balloon slowly deflating. He whispered awkwardly into your ear.
So...
What are you supposed to say now? Are we sharing surprise for this? Surprise! 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 Yeah, surprise. The unexpected, not to mention delayed explanation at his entrance gave Baxter a start.
Welcome.
How good of you to come, Baxter. The way Terry rubbed her hands together in the vague sense of satisfaction in her tone, she was giving the impression he had fallen into a nefarious trap. Now all the guests have finally arrived. We can begin.
What?
What? What do you mean? I think the guests have left by this point. Baxter had generously low levels of confusion, but at the strangeness, merely raising a brow rather than making a hasty retreat. Even though Baxter would probably be the last person he knew to be scared off by a villainous shenanigans, he decided to avoid any potential misunderstandings. What? Can't you tell? There's obviously a summer soiree happening. A summer soiree, you say? You got it. This event is Miranda's birthday, no more. She dramatically crossed her arms over the other and flung them outwards, as if she was wearing the entire concept of a birthday. Terry had to rent the room for the entire day, even though we only needed until the middle of the afternoon. So we decided to use the last few hours we had here for another party, one that was for the group of us, so you're invited. You parted from the bunch to your right, in front of the stunned Baxter. He didn't flinch as he draped the white feather boa over his shoulders. Baxter's mouth opened wordlessly as he stared up at your face. He tentatively lifted up a hand and brushed his fingers against the feathers surrounding him. You had to check that it was truly there. Then, with eyes still wide, a delightful grin grew across Baxter's face.
To be honest,
I must admit, I assumed you were scheming something, but I absolutely did not think it'd be this. I should never have doubted your abilities to throw a surprise party. Terry, Randy, and Cove crowded around the two of you to reform the group with a newest member. Didn't I tell you the best way to have something to be a real surprise is if you do it all at the last second, so no one even has a chance to put it together?
you're very good.
Yes, you did. I suppose there are some advantages to this strategy after all. And so the summer soiree commenced. You hung around the almost barren snack table. There was only one piece of furniture left behind at Miranda's party. There weren't even chairs, mostly. Miranda had joked that Baxter could take the throne now if he wanted to. That part came with the room. He courteously declined. Dinner was simple. More sandwiches and salads. It was mostly a quiet meal, but that's exactly what was needed. At 7 a.m. in the morning, you left to prepare Miranda's birthday. 12 hours later, you're still there. Lazily enjoying one another's company after an extremely long day couldn't be overappreciated. Cove wiped crumbs from his mouth after he was done eating and addressed Baxter without being spoken to first, for a change. There's dessert for you too, a slice of cake and one of the cupcakes. Thank you, I like to try the cake Terry made, but I had quite enough of cupcakes. Fair enough, he is well acquainted with the confession, even if he had never taken a single bite. Then, can I have it?
Absolutely.
Please do. Don't forget the chocolate fountain. Terry jumped in with another sampling suggestion. The contraption was Baxter's second, arguably more formidable enemy of the event. It's not going strong. You gotta try it. However, he chuckled. Alright, if you insist. For all the trouble it caused, the fountainhead did keep flowing even as the night went on, and a dozen treats passed through it. The only part of the equation that was in good shape forever. The platter of goodies alongside it had become a plate of baddies. What remained was mostly some snapped pretzel fractions, scrapes of fruit, and mostly full-size granola bars. Cookies and marshmallows had, to the shock of no one, been more popular choices. Those were long gone before the first party had even finished. Not one to complain. Baxter plucked up a granola bar and slipped one end into the rippling sheet of liquid chocolate he had melted himself. Cove, meanwhile, wasn't going to settle for that, despite being the one who brought them. He tore off a piece of his cupcake of the night and struck into the fountain. His fingers coated as well. Baxter languishingly watched Cove make a careless mess. You know food that crumbly will get into chocolate and... never mind. Smirking, Baxter removed his bar from the fountain and flipped it around. He leaned his backside against the edge of the table.
Honestly.
What does it matter if the chocolate clumps? I wouldn't care if the fountain broke at this point. The point was punctuated with a satisfying bite into the chocolate-covered granola bar. It's good. No matter how definitively he made that statement, it was hard to tell if he was being serious or not. He tried dunking a piece of leftover cake. This late in the game, there was no road left, but it was still a challenge to actually achieve. When you put the cake under the flow, it just collapsed into the pool, and you tried lowering it directly into the basin. It got stuck there and tore off. You didn't give up no matter how many crumbs filled the fountain. It wasn't ideal, but it was fun. When the slim pickings became non-existent pickings, even the most daring among you had to call it quits on the fountain. Terry used the final chance to fill up her most basic urge, sticking her tongue directly into the stream of chocolate. Miranda giggled and squirmed at how wrong it was. Terry gave her thumbs up, pointing at body parts of the contraption was recommended, apparently.
Alright.
Terry cleaned herself off before making a new announcement. This isn't her birthday celebration, so you know what that means? It's not weird to have slow dancing as our main event.
Huh?
Pardon me, dancing? This party of five's going to have slow dancing? Baxter questioned on what he was seeing. Not in this is too good to be true way, but in a tone that was almost accusatory, like you got him a trap after all. I'm beginning to get the impression This impromptu event is less for the entire group and more for me specifically. Once again, the group became divided between the four of you together and the one outsider, and it was always self-imposed. Baxter's arms folded up as his gaze wandered each over the faces around him. He was searching for a reason. He wanted to know Baxter's motivation for his behavior. Well, yeah, it mostly is. That was the plan. But why? You didn't have to. He insisted immediately, defensively. The chilly reception didn't hamper Terry whatsoever. Perhaps she took him for being shy in the spotlight. She wandered away and hit the music setting, singing into a lovely tune with a gentle pace. A nice enough song could smooth out any of the bumps. Baxter remained defiant, waiting motionlessly for a response to what he said. He couldn't and wouldn't accept the situation. Under that kind of pressure, Miranda glanced at the dance floor, and Cove sheepishly turned from Baxter to look at you for guidance. I see. That was enough for him to be clear. You were the planner for the party. Of course this is how it happened, and you read it in his expression. Baxter no longer traded stories amongst the crowd. He didn't see anyone else in the room except you. You deserve some thanks. He took taken a breath through his nose and curled his ring fingers in a fist. You would have had taken the initiative this time. For the second time that night, you approached Baxter's, then offered him your hands. Can I have this dance, Mr. Ward? A crease in his brows cracked Baxter's hardened expression. It was frustratingly and wonderful to him, and that you had your suspicions on why he struggled with the gesture. Delicately, and still without another word, he accepted. For the moment, Baxter could let go of his concerns by holding on to you. Hand in hand, you walked into the center of the lit-up floor. The room was so quiet you could make out bits of conversation the others were having. Terry offered to dance with either Randy or Cove. Both of them refused, with varying degrees of nervousness. Terry could only laugh. She knew it was coming. Out of the normal group, you might have been bold enough to do that with her, but you already had a partner. But that meant you had the whole space to yourselves. Though, at first, you could only prompt Baxter into swaying in place. With time and encouragement, the dance moved onward until Baxter swept around the room with you like the pro he was. Able to move with them nicely, he kept the steps at an approachable level. When the song ended, the enchantment both of you were under vanished. Baxter settled himself to speak to you.
Well,
So, he murmured pleasantries a hair's breadth away from your face. Was the birthday party a success? Everyone had a great time, especially Miranda. Baxter's lips quirked. It must have been a relief to know for certain that nothing fell apart once he made his retreat. You did a fantastic job. Baxter positively lit up upon hearing that, brighter than the dance floor and all the stars that had been shining far beyond the walls of the event room. Thank you. Then a playful lit rang in his tone.
lovely.
And before I forget to mention, I'm thrilled to attend another summer soiree with you. Me too. His eyes closed and paced 1 foot back, only for a second. He thought better of that and brought it back in line with your other leg. I'm not lying when I say this was one of the grandest occasions I've ever attended. Confessed by a man wearing a $2 feather boa and standing in the fine remnants of a birthday party thrown together in 2 days. That scene had been a far cry from the former events he certainly had attended throughout his life before coming to Sunset Bird. Yet you didn't doubt the earnestness of his words for a second. I apologize if I did not get that impression initially. I hate to be a bother, and I want... You went through so much trouble, You nearly forgotten you hadn't let go of each other after the dance until Baxter's grip around your hand tightens. Doesn't matter now. The effort is sincerely appreciated. In a way, Terry had been right. Even Baxter Ward could be bashful in certain regards. That was okay. We were just glad he enjoyed himself in the end. You know, go kiss him. You're sleepy and relieved you can finally just be happy with your charming suitor. He accepted the affection readily this time, pressing into you.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me to your party, Luna. His eyes were still dancing, even if his feet stopped. That his words still carried the weight of finality with them. There was a joy he found in the flirtiness of it all. Just like this might be your last big party with Terry, Miranda, and Cove. It could very well be the first and last time for Baxter too. He accepted that certainty. Baxter was always so ready to leave with parties in town on the whole. He treated everything on that came his way as temporary, to merely be embraced while he could and then freely release. Even though that you knew that if he'd never been done with anything differently, he hoped that he would keep having reason to return as long as you chat to him. And there we have it. And now we just have 2 different memories left. The hanging. So with that, I hope you guys have a good day, night, week, month of your lives, and may the stars forever guide your path wherever they might lead you into the future. And I hope to see you guys again next time.